Hi, I'm Pat Tone. I'm a reader advisor at the Darien Library. Every now and then, we have the privilege of meeting a truly fascinating patron, one whose story is rich in both events and personalities. We felt this patron's story was good enough to merit its own video. Please meet Arden.
Well, we moved to Darien. This is an irony. We moved to Darien when my daughter was 2 because were impressed by the town, which at that time was quite a sweet, small, sleepy town. I wouldn't say sleepy, but it was nothing like it is now.
Train stop.
It was a train stop, basically, but they used to call it a bedroom community. But we knew that the school system was excellent. So we figured, okay, let's do it. And we found a house we could afford. I won't even tell you what it cost because it was unbelievably cheap. And we lived there very peacefully. I moved away several years ago, came back. I had to sell my house. I just couldn't. What did I need a 6-bedroom house for? My daughter was in college, my son was going to college, and I didn't keep it. So I rented for a while, and I had some lovely apartments. Now I'm back in town. I felt homesick. And I heard about this really great senior housing development called Old Town Hall Houses. And I got myself on the list, and it took me 5 years to get in. I love it. My daughter sold everything but the kitchen sink at the tag sales. Somebody put a bid on that. My daughter is a graphics designer. She's also a yoga teacher and a champion bike racer. She graduated from Pratt with honors. My son is a jazz musician, a very good one. And he plays every Monday night in Norwalk at Fat Cat Pie Company with a jazz quartet. Oh, I belonged to the library since I moved to town years ago when it was over where the Board of Ed is now. The first thing I've ever done in a town, New Rochelle or Rye, I was born in New Rochelle, raised in Rye. Went to Rye High School when it was 600 kids in 6th grade. It was like a private school. I always joined the library. That's the first thing I did. I like it. It's very unusual. When they were first building it, I said to my daughter, I said, look, honey, they're building the Library of Congress. Because that's what it began to look like. I specialized in the German repertoire, both in opera, light, Mozart, no Wagner. But Mozart and a couple of the lighter composers, a lot of operetta, and the leader. Yes. I did Valenciennes in Merry Widow a couple of times, as a matter of fact. And then I was doing, I was doing a lot of Swedish songs. Sweden has some wonderful song literature, just all written by Finns, except for Edvard Grieg, who was Norwegian. I was something called a Deutsch soubrette. I always said she's the funny one that gets the baritone, you see, instead of the tenor. And I learned a great many roles. I never did an audition with an aria if I didn't know the role. And I got to do several roles over there, and it was quite exciting.
Which roles?
Der Fleischwitz, Entchen, Figaro, Susanna, Fidelio, Marcellina. That was it, the 3, but I went all over for about 4 months. That was enough, believe me. Someone once said Beethoven only wrote 1 opera. Why? I said, because that's the only one he had to write. To me, Fidelio is one of the greatest pieces of opera that has ever been written. And he had so much to say in that opera. When I got married, well, you don't go on a 6-month tour of Germany when you have a baby and a child just going into kindergarten. So I said, okay, you did that already. And I started teaching voice. And that is wonderful. I continued to perform. I did a number of recitals. I did small roles, but I never didn't go to Europe again. I sang with Connecticut Grand Opera for a few years and then because I had always loved directing and had taken the class at the conservatory with Roldovsky and Sarah Caldwell. I thought, you know, why is he doing that? I could do that better. A lot of my teachers have passed on. I'm kind of, as I say, I'm a relic. Yes. Oh, how to move, and how to breathe, and how, you know, she kind of regulated my breathing, which helped my singing. She grabbed me after class one day and she said, "You tell me that you're a singer, but you don't know how to breathe." And she marched me up and down the studio room for quite a while until she was happy, and it changed the way I breathed for singing, and it worked. And they made me resident assistant director, and I got to work with people like Menotti, which was a fabulous experience. The last opera role I did were both Menotti. One was the medium, scary, and the other was the mother in Amal. But another life changer, and this I think is far more interesting than all that other stuff. I was hired to do a USO tour with to the Far East because the men weren't going to the shows. They're nicht dahin, nicht daher, if you know what I mean. And so the Actors Equity, the State Department, and the Department of the Army got together, and they said, well, let's do something different. So there were two companies. There was one, it was called Broadway USA. One company went to the Far East, one company went to Europe. And we did everything in, this was a long time ago. This was in 1960. I mean, I'm an old lady. Yes, between Korea and Vietnam. And there were a few alerts there where we were confined to the base because there was unrest. And they were working on a, let me see,